touch on first is how can each fighter win? What does each fighter need to do to win? Paul, going to go to you first on this one. Just in a kind of a nutshell, what does Fury need to do? What does Fury need to do to win, and how can Whyte win this fight?
I think Fury just needs to turn up and he'll win, to be honest. As brutal as that sounds, I don't really see any way in which Dillian Whyte can win. I think that it does look like Fury's been taking it seriously. I think that was maybe one of the question marks. Is he perhaps overlooking Dillian Whyte? But I don't think he is. He's logged out of all of his social media, so even that's an indication that he is taking it quite seriously. And I think, let's be honest, the best Dillian Whyte can't beat a 50% Tyson Fury, in my opinion. And I think we're going to get that with Fury. If you're judging Fury off his last few performances, even back to when, I know he's been more destructive and come forward the last few times, but even when he was, he beats Whyte like that, in my opinion. He beats him if he wants to box on the back foot like he did against Klitschko and dance around him. Whatever way he wants to box, I think he beats Dillian Whyte. So for Whyte, I mean, as of, it's fairly obvious there that I don't think he can win, but if he is to win, he's just going to have to bite down on his gum shield, take it to Fury, and hope he does land one of his left hooks or whatever, puts him down. And even if he does put him down, he'd need to keep him down, because Fury, as we've seen before, does get up. So yeah, I think that that's my opinion on the fight, really, and how I think it could play out.
Yeah, Elliot, I'll go to you next, mate. Do you agree with what Paul's saying, and anything you don't agree with at all?
No, I fully agree with what Paul's saying. I don't see. I can't make any credible argument for Dillian Whyte winning the fight. Frankly, I mean, stylistically, I think, obviously, like you're saying, you saw those left hooks, those big overhand rights. I can't see them necessarily landing in the frequency they'll need to land. And I think I look at it and going, does Dillian Whyte punch harder than Deontay Wilder? No. So even if he does land, I don't think he puts Fury down. Don't think he stops him. It's just a case of what version of Fury's going to turn up on the night. Like Paul says, if he wants to box on the back foot, I think Dillian Whyte will tire mid to late rounds anyway, and he'll just outbox him comfortably. But even that, I don't think will happen. I just think if he wants to step on it at any point, go in on the front foot, I think it'll really hurt him, and I think Whyte's got the defence to hold him off. So I can't make any credible argument that Dillian Whyte will win. However, the only intrigue in the fight really for me is at what stage Fury wants to stop it, frankly.
But do you not think that Fury is capable of getting carried away and walking onto a shot like he did with Wilder, like he did with Steve Cunningham? You really can't make a case for you to agree with that. That could be a possibility. I'm not saying he walks onto a shot and Whyte knocks him out, but can you see a possibility where Fury gets knocked down and is in trouble momentarily?
No, Steve. I don't. I don't say for Whyte. No, I think look, the Steve Cunningham. I suppose the Steve Cunningham knockdown is referenced quite a lot. I look at that and I think that was 2013, a long time ago. I think. Oh right, yeah, he could. I think he could get caught. Obviously, it's a boxing match. He could get punched, but I just don't think. I don't think Whyte's the killer that everyone says he is. I mean, he's sitting there with 19 KOs in 28 fights. You look at Fury's record, and he's got 22 and 31, and you wouldn't necessarily even call Fury a puncher in that division. I mean, the new version, obviously, that turned up against Wilder, showed more aggression and was on the front foot a lot more. But you look at Dillian Whyte, he's gone he's on the distance with Marius Watch, Rivas, Parker, Helenius, Chisora, all these other guys. He went 10 rounds with Dave Allen. So I'm not sitting there thinking that Dillian Whyte's a ferocious puncher, particularly either. Is he punch harder than Wilder? Like I said, absolutely not. So even if he catches him on those big looping shots, even if he catches him at left hook, I don't see it stopping Fury. He might get hit by it, but I just don't see it knocking him down. Even if, I mean, like Paul says, the only possible, and I'm not contradicting myself here by saying there's a chance. I don't think there's a chance, but the only thing you're going to get me to admit is that if Fury does turn up completely demotivated, then there's a chance that it could be closer than it otherwise would be. But I can't make any argument. I can't see it in my mind. I'm not even allowing it to enter reality that Dillian Whyte will be able to put down Fury in this fight. Don't see it happen.
Fair enough. And Greg, finally, we'll go to you, mate. What are your thoughts?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I completely disagree. I think Whyte's live in the fight. I think if he catches Fury at left hook, I think Fury will go to sleep. I'm not buying this whole Fury's the second coming of God. Not for me. Brilliant. The night he beat Klitschko, unbelievable. Wilder, hardest puncher in heavyweight history? Possibly. No legs, couldn't move. If he's not going to hit you with a punch, then you're going to box rings around him all night. So no. If you're asking me who I think will win, I'm going to say Fury. I think Fury will win, but I don't know, man. I can't buy into all this Fury stuff. I think his opponents and timings have been all very, very selective. I think he's avoiding Joshua, although does he beat Joshua? Possibly, but I think he's avoiding him. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think White's very live, very live. He punches hard. There's no doubt about it. I get that he's went the distance with some guys that he maybe shouldn't have went the distance with, but the way he knocked out Lucas Brown, he's lying there sleeping like asleep. Like, he can punch. There's no doubt about it. He's probably, for me, Fury's third best opponent after Wilder and Klitschko. And the only reason I've got Wilder at 2 is because he's a murderous puncher. And Fury had a whole different attitude going in with Wilder. He knew if he made one terrible mistake, he was going to sleep. That makes guys more alert. If you look at somebody like Dillian Whyte, you think, oh, he punches relatively hard, but it's an easy fight. That's when you get surprised. And I don't know, man. I think this will be a tougher fight than what people think.
For the record, can I just state as well, I completely agree with what you're saying, Greg. I don't think Fury is the second coming of Jesus as well. Like, I really don't.
I don't get it. I honestly don't. He's a good fighter. He's very talented and all that kind of thing. But he's, apart from Klitschko, he's not really fought anybody apart from Wilder. I don't know, am I being harsh? But give him Joshua's resume. You know, and I'm not a big anti-Joshua fan either. I probably prefer Fury. So that's what it is.
I'm not saying, you know, like Tyson Fury's the second coming of anything. But equally, what I am saying is that Dillian Whyte, I don't think presents a challenge to him. I genuinely don't think it's that hard to fight for him. I think you sit there and go, on paper, yeah, it probably is the third hardest fight he's taken. I would say, I think that's a fair point. But then also look at it and go, is Whyte significantly better than Chisora? No, I don't think so. I mean, that's probably the last fight I look at it and go, Dillian Whyte was in shape in that Chisora rematch. Probably is the last fight I think he looked all right in. But I don't think it's going to be. I genuinely don't think it's going to be a challenging night for him. I really don't.
I think what we need to look at though, Elliot, is he's not going to be as up for this the way he was with Wilder, the way he was with Klitschko. He's looking down at Dillian Whyte, and that's what Tyson Fury's downfall has always been. He looked down at Steve Cunningham. He's looked down at different fighters, and they've cut him. He thought Otto Wallin wasn't going to be a challenge. He ended up all over the place at times. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, he's a much better Fury, much better. But
he's won those fights as well, though. And I can sit there and go, it's almost understandable to look down on Dillian Whyte. I mean, I'm looking down on him and I'm not even fighting him. And you can sit here and go, I mean, I genuinely don't think he presents the challenge that people think he presents. And I'm sitting there thinking, the Wallin fight was close. He was cut badly in that. But then he comes through and you sit there and go, all right, he's got people have been critical about Ben Davidson's training at that point, including Fury's own dad. And you sit there and go, okay, maybe he took that fight lightly. He was off partying in Vegas, whatever. And that's, in a way, the result. And I just don't think... I think he's taking it lighter than he possibly should do, but I also don't necessarily think he's taking it as light as people think either. I'm sitting there thinking that really Fury needs names on his record. I agree with you that he needs more names. Like, he's obviously got the Klitschko, he's obviously got the Wilder fights on there, who I think probably are the two premier victories, I suppose, out of this era, frankly. I think that's my opinion.
The thing is, though, styles make fights, Elliot. Styles make fights. So you tell me, I get what you're saying, that he's not much better than Chisora. Who gave Usyk his hardest fight at heavyweight?
Who gave what, sorry?
Who gave Usyk his hardest fight at heavyweight? Chisora.
Well, yeah, he went the distance with him, but I don't think it was that close.
It was relatively close. Usyk maybe had it won by 4-5 maybe, but I mean, the scorecards were really close. These styles just make fights, and I just think that Dillian Whyte is going to be getting into this fight really intimidated, and he's going to be, I don't think scared is the word, but when you've got a challenge in front of you and you know it's a challenge that a lot of people don't think that you're going to win, it makes you that bit more alert. Whereas Fury thinks, well, I've beat Wilder, I've beat Klitschko, who's Dillian Whyte? You just need to listen to the press conferences, mate. He's looking down on him, and I just think that's a risky tactic.
I accept that, but I'll say to you, what is it in Dillian Whyte's style that you think is going to be able to get to Fury? Like, do you think, I mean, I don't think he's that good a boxer. So he's relying essentially on slugging it out with him. I just don't know what you think stylistically. When you look at this mesh, you can say that Fury is obviously versatile. He can go forward, he can go backwards. Dillian Whyte, I don't necessarily seen enough cuteness or I suppose virtuosity in his style to necessarily say that he can adapt. I don't think there's any way that he can change or be effective with the style that he's demonstrated against all the fighters that we've seen him fight.
He's awkward. Really. He's awkward. See when he's in maybe mid to close range, he still finds ways how to get that left hook off. If you look at guys like Wilder and that, they don't know how to fight Fury on the inside. Waller knew how to fight him a little bit on the inside, and it gave him a bit of problems. But listen, I'm not going to sit here and say for 1 minute I think Dillian Whyte's going to win this. I would really expect Fury to win. I just think that it wouldn't surprise me one bit if there's a bit of drama in this fight, or even if somehow Dillian Whyte managed to shock the world, because I can see it all coming out now. Fury will be like, "Oh, I fell out of love with boxing. My head wasn't right." I can't have a sure bet on Tyson Fury. He's too, with the greatest of respect, all over the place to believe in, and I just think that it's one of those fights I wouldn't close the door on Dillian Whyte.
Okay, so